Welcome back to Easy English Talk Podcast.
You wake up one morning and realize you have been studying English for years, but still feel stuck. You know the grammar, you know thousands of words, but something is missing. Welcome to Easy English Talk Podcast. I'm Ryan, and with me, as always, is Priya. Today we are discussing 7 English habits that change everything.
Thank you, Ryan. And yes, this is a topic so many learners think about. They work hard, they study every day, but progress feels slow or even invisible sometimes.
Exactly. And the interesting part is that most learners focus on the wrong things. They spend hours memorizing vocabulary lists or doing grammar exercises, but they do not build the habits that actually matter.
Right, because learning English is not just about knowing rules, it's about how you use the language every single day. It's about building patterns in your brain that become automatic over time.
So before we talk about the 7 habits, let us first understand the real problem. Why do so many people study English for years, but still struggle to speak confidently or understand native speakers?
One big reason is that most people treat English like a subject in school. They think if they study hard enough, memorize enough, and pass enough tests, they will suddenly be fluent.
But fluency does not work that way. You can know every grammar rule perfectly and still freeze when someone asks you a simple question in real life.
Exactly, because knowing something in your mind is very different from being able to use it automatically. Your brain needs repetition, real practice, and the right kind of exposure.
And this is where habits come in. Habits are actions you repeat so often that they become part of who you are. You don't think about them anymore. They just happen.
Right. So when we talk about English habits, we're talking about daily actions that train your brain to think in English, respond in English, and understand English without translating everything first.
And the good news is that these habits do not require expensive courses or perfect pronunciation. They just require consistency and the right approach.
That's the key word, consistency. Most learners try something for a few days, don't see results, and then give up. But real progress comes from doing small things every single day.
So let us start with the first habit. This one might surprise some people because it sounds almost too simple. The first habit is listening to English every single day, even if you don't understand everything.
Yes, and this is so important. Many learners avoid listening because they feel frustrated when they can't understand every word. But that frustration is actually part of the learning process.
Right. When you listen regularly, even if you only understand 50% or 60%, your brain starts to recognize patterns. It learns the rhythm of English, the way words connect, and the natural speed of speech.
Exactly. And over time, those unclear sounds start to become clear. Words you couldn't hear before suddenly make sense, but only if you keep listening.
So what should people listen to? Does it matter what kind of content they choose?
It does matter, yes. You want to listen to content that interests you, first of all. If you're bored, you won't stay consistent, so choose topics you actually care about.
That makes sense. So if someone loves cooking, they can listen to cooking podcasts or YouTube channels. If they like technology, they can listen to tech news or interviews.
Exactly, and the level matters too. Don't start with super fast native content if you're still a beginner. Find something just a little bit above your level. You should understand most of it, but still feel a little challenged.
And how long should someone listen each day? Is there a minimum time that actually makes a difference?
Even 15 or 20 minutes a day can make a huge difference if you do it every single day. The key is not the length. The key is the consistency.
So listening every day, even for a short time, trains your ear and helps your brain get used to the sound of English. That's the first habit.
Yes, and it's one of the easiest habits to start because you can do it while cooking, walking, or even cleaning your home.
Now let us move to the second habit. This one is about speaking, but not in the way most people think. The second habit is talking to yourself in English every single day.
I love this one because so many learners think they need a speaking partner or a teacher to practice speaking. But you can actually improve a lot just by talking to yourself.
Exactly. And it sounds a little strange at first, maybe even funny, But it works because you are forcing your brain to produce English without pressure or fear of mistakes.
Right. When you talk to yourself, there's no one judging you. You can stop, correct yourself, try again, and experiment with new words or sentences. It's like a safe space for your speaking practice.
So, what should someone talk about when they are alone? Should they prepare topics in advance or just speak freely?
Both can work. Some people like to describe what they're doing in the moment. For example, if you are making coffee, you can say out loud, "Now I am boiling water. I am adding 2 spoons of sugar. The coffee smells really good."
That's a great way to practice because you're using real everyday vocabulary and you're connecting English to your actual life, not just to textbooks.
Exactly. Another way is to imagine conversations. You can pretend you are talking to a friend, explaining your day, or even giving advice about something. It doesn't have to be perfect.
And the more you do this, the faster your brain gets at forming sentences. Because when you finally do speak to a real person, your brain has already practiced the process of thinking in English.
Right. And one more tip for this habit. If you can, record yourself sometimes. You don't have to show it to anyone. Just listen to your own voice and notice where you hesitate or make mistakes.
That's really helpful because most people don't realize their own patterns. Maybe they always forget to use past tense, or maybe they speak too quietly. Recording helps you notice these things.
Yes, and over time, you'll hear yourself improving. That's very motivating.
So the second habit is talking to yourself in English every day. It builds fluency, confidence, and speed without needing anyone else.
Exactly. And it's free. You can start right now, today, in your own room.
Now let us talk about the third habit. This one is about reading, but again, not in the traditional way. The third habit is reading something in English every single day, but choosing things you actually enjoy.
This is so important because many learners force themselves to read difficult books or boring articles just because they think it will make them better. But if you hate what you're reading, you won't continue.
Exactly. Reading should be enjoyable. If you like stories, read short stories or novels. If you like news, read simple news websites. If you like social media, read English posts or captions.
Right. And the goal is not to understand every single word. The goal is to keep reading regularly so your brain gets used to seeing English sentences and understanding meaning from context.
And when you read every day, you also start to learn vocabulary naturally. You see the same words used in different situations, and your brain starts to remember them without effort.
Exactly. This is much more effective than memorizing lists. When you see a word in context, in a real sentence, your brain understands how to use it, not just what it means.
So, should learners use a dictionary while reading, or should they just guess the meaning and keep going?
Good question. It depends on the situation. If you are reading for enjoyment, don't stop every few seconds to look up words. Just guess from context and keep moving. But if a word appears many times and you really need to know it, then yes, look it up.
That makes sense. Because if you stop too often, reading becomes frustrating. You lose the flow of the story or the article, and then you don't want to continue.
Exactly. And one more tip for this habit. Try to read at the same time every day, maybe in the morning with your coffee or before bed. Make it part of your routine.
Yes. When something becomes part of your routine, it is much easier to stay consistent. You do not have to force yourself because it just feels natural.
Right. So the third habit is reading something enjoyable in English every day. It builds vocabulary, improves comprehension, and makes English feel less like work and more like fun.
Now we move to the fourth habit, and this one's a little different. The fourth habit is thinking in English instead of translating from your native language.
Yes, and this is one of the hardest habits to build, but also one of the most powerful. Because as long as you're translating in your head, you will always be slower and less confident.
Exactly. Most learners think in their native language first, then translate each word into English, and then try to speak. But by that time, the conversation has already moved on.
Right. And translation also creates mistakes because languages do not work the same way. What sounds correct in your language might sound strange in English.
So how do you actually start thinking in English? Because it sounds almost impossible at first.
It is hard, yes. but you can train your brain step by step. The first step is to stop translating simple things. For example, when you see a cup, think the word cup in English, not in your language.
So you are basically labeling things in your mind in English instead of your native language.
Exactly. And you can do this all day long. When you see a car, think car. When you feel hungry, think I am hungry, not the translation, just the English sentence.
And what about more complex thoughts? What if you want to think about something deeper, like your plans for the weekend or a problem at work?
Then you try to describe it in simple English, even if your grammar is not perfect. The point is to use English directly, not to build the sentence in your language first.
So it's okay if your thoughts are simple or even a little broken at first.
Yes, absolutely. No one is listening to your thoughts. This is just practice for your brain. Over time, your thoughts will become faster and more natural.
And this habit connects really well with the second habit we talked about earlier, which is talking to yourself. Because when you think in English, it becomes much easier to speak in English.
Exactly. Your brain is already working in English, so you don't need that extra step of translation. You just speak what you're already thinking.
So the fourth habit is thinking in English instead of translating. It takes time to build, but it is one of the most important habits for real fluency.
Yes, and even small moments count. Every time you choose to think in English instead of your native language, you're training your brain.
Now let's talk about the fifth habit. This one is about writing, but in a very specific way. The fifth habit is writing something short in English every single day.
Yes, and this does not mean you have to write essays or long articles. Even 3 or 4 sentences are enough if you do it every day.
Exactly. The goal is not to write perfectly. The goal is to practice expressing your ideas in English through writing, which is very different from speaking.
Right, because when you write, you have more time to think. You can look at your sentence, change it, improve it, and notice your own mistakes. This helps you learn faster.
So what should people write about? Should they keep a journal or write about specific topics?
Both are great. Some people like to keep a daily journal where they write about their day, their feelings, or their plans. This is very personal, and it helps you practice everyday vocabulary.
And it also creates a record of your progress. If you go back and read what you wrote 6 months ago, you'll probably see how much better you have become.
Exactly. That is so motivating. Another option is to write short summaries of things you read or watch. If you listen to a podcast or watch a video in English, write 3 or 4 sentences about what you learned.
That is a good way to practice because you are connecting listening or reading with writing. You are using the language in multiple ways, which helps your brain remember better.
Right. And one more idea is to write opinions or thoughts. If you see a question online, try to answer it in English. If you have an opinion about something, write it down.
So the key is just to write something, anything, every single day, even if it is short, even if it has mistakes.
Yes, and over time, your writing will become clearer, faster, and more natural. You will also start to notice patterns in your mistakes, which helps you correct them.
So the fifth habit is writing something short in English every day. It does not have to be long or perfect. It just has to be consistent.
Exactly. And this habit also builds confidence because you are creating something in English, not just consuming it.
Now we move to the sixth habit. This one might surprise some people because it is not about studying English directly. The sixth habit is learning something new through English, not just learning English itself.
Yes, and this is such a powerful shift in mindset. Most learners spend all their time studying grammar and vocabulary. But what if you used English as a tool to learn about topics you love?
Exactly. So instead of just studying English, you study cooking in English, or history in English, or fitness in English. You use English to explore your real interests.
Right, because when you're focused on a topic you care about, you forget that you're learning English. You're just learning, and that makes everything more natural and enjoyable.
But you also learn more useful vocabulary because it is connected to real situations, not random word lists.
Exactly. If you love photography and you watch YouTube videos about photography in English, you will learn words like shutter speed, aperture, and composition, and you'll remember them because they matter to you.
So this habit makes English feel less like work and more like a bridge to the things you already enjoy.
Yes, and it also keeps you motivated for a long time because you're not forcing yourself to study something boring. You're genuinely interested, so you keep going.
So how can someone start this habit? What is a good first step?
Choose one topic you love. It could be sports, music, technology, art, anything. Then find English content about that topic. Watch videos, read articles, listen to podcasts.
And the goal is not to understand every word perfectly. The goal is to enjoy the content and learn something new while also improving your English.
Exactly. And over time, you'll notice that your English improves without you even trying because you're using it naturally, the way native speakers do.
So the sixth habit is learning something new through English. Use English as a tool, not as the only goal.
Yes, and this habit changes the entire experience of learning. It becomes fun instead of tiring.
Now let's talk about the seventh and final habit. This one is about mindset, and it might be the most important of all. The seventh habit is celebrating small progress instead of waiting for perfection.
Yes, and this is something so many learners struggle with. They set impossible standards for themselves and then feel like failures when they don't meet them.
Exactly. They think they need to sound like a native speaker or understand every single word before they can feel proud of themselves. But that's not realistic.
Right. Learning a language takes years. It's a long journey with many small steps. And if you don't celebrate those small steps, you'll lose motivation and give up.
So what does it mean to celebrate small progress? Can you give some examples?
Sure, let's say you watch a movie in English and you understand 60% of it without subtitles. That's amazing. Celebrate it. Don't focus on the 40% you missed.
Right. Or maybe you have a short conversation in English and you only make a few mistakes. That's progress. Don't focus on the mistakes. Focus on the fact that you communicated successfully.
Exactly. Or maybe you read an article and you only needed to look up 3 or 4 words instead of 20. That's improvement. Notice it.
So the idea is to train yourself to see progress instead of only seeing what is still difficult.
Yes, because your brain responds to what you focus on. If you always focus on mistakes and gaps, you will feel discouraged. But if you notice improvement, even small improvement, you will feel motivated to continue.
And this habit also helps you stay consistent, which is the most important thing. Because even if your progress is slow, as long as you keep going, you will reach your goal eventually.
Exactly. Slow progress is still progress. And many learners do not realize how far they have come because they are too focused on how far they still have to go.
So, the seventh habit is celebrating small progress. Notice improvement, be kind to yourself, and stay consistent. Do not wait for perfection.
Yes, and this mindset habit supports all the other habits we talked about today. Because if you celebrate progress, you will keep listening, speaking, reading, writing, thinking, and learning through English every single day.
Exactly. And that daily consistency is what changes everything over time.
Right, so let us quickly recap these 7 habits. First, listen to English every day, even if you do not understand everything. This trains your ear and helps you recognize patterns.
Second, talk to yourself in English every day. This builds fluency and confidence without needing a speaking partner.
Third, read something enjoyable in English every day. This builds vocabulary and makes English feel natural instead of stressful.
Fourth, think in English instead of translating from your native language. This is hard at first, but it makes you much faster and more confident over time.
Fifth, write something short in English every day. This helps you notice mistakes, improve clarity, and track your progress.
Sixth, learn something new through English, not just English itself. Use English as a tool to explore your interests, not just as a subject to study.
And 7th, celebrate small progress instead of waiting for perfection. Notice improvement, stay consistent, and be kind to yourself.
So, those are the 7 English habits that change everything. And the beautiful thing is that none of these habits require money, special tools, or perfect conditions. You can start all of them today.
Exactly. You just need consistency and a willingness to build these habits one day at a time.
And remember, you do not have to do all 7 perfectly from day 1. Start with 1 or 2 habits. Make them part of your routine and then add more over time.
Yes, small steps lead to big changes. And if you stay consistent, even just a little bit every day, your English will improve more than you expect.
So, before we finish, let us talk about one more thing. How can someone actually stick to these habits? Because knowing what to do is one thing, but actually doing it every day is much harder.
That's a great question, and the answer is to make the habits as easy as possible. Don't make them complicated or time-consuming. Keep them simple so you can do them even on busy days.
Right. So instead of saying, I will listen to English for 2 hours every day, say, I will listen for 15 minutes while I eat breakfast. That's much more realistic.
Exactly, and link your new habits to things you already do every day. This is called habit stacking. For example, every time you brush your teeth, you can think in English for 2 minutes.
That is smart, because you are connecting the new habit to something automatic, so it becomes easier to remember and easier to do.
Yes, and another tip is to track your progress. Use a simple calendar or checklist and mark each day you complete your habit. It feels good to see your consistency growing.
Right. And on days when you do not feel motivated, just do the smallest version of the habit. If you do not feel like reading for 20 minutes, read for 5 minutes. Something is always better than nothing.
Exactly, because the goal is to stay consistent, not to be perfect. Even a small action keeps the habit alive.
And one final tip, be patient with yourself. Some days will feel easy, and some days will feel hard. That is normal. Just keep going.
Yes, learning a language is a marathon, not a sprint. You do not need to rush. You just need to keep moving forward.
So, to summarize everything we talked about today, these 7 habits are powerful because they are simple, practical, and they work with how your brain actually learns.
Right. Listening trains your ear. Speaking builds fluency. Reading expands vocabulary. Thinking in English removes the translation barrier. Writing improves clarity. Learning through English keeps you motivated. And celebrating progress keeps you going.
And when you do these things every day, even for just a few minutes, your brain starts to change. English stops feeling like a foreign language and starts feeling like a natural part of your life.
Exactly. And that is the real goal. Not to memorize every rule or know every word, but to feel comfortable using English in real situations.
So if you're listening to this right now and you feel stuck in your English learning, try these 7 habits. Do not try to change everything at once. Just pick one habit and start today.
Yes, and give yourself time. Don't expect results in 1 week, but if you stay consistent for 3 months, 6 months, or a year, you'll be amazed at how much you improve.
And remember, every small action counts. Every day you listen, speak, read, write, think, learn, or celebrate progress, you're building something bigger. You're building the skill of English that will stay with you for life.
Exactly. And that skill will open doors for you. Better jobs, new friendships, travel opportunities, access to knowledge. English is not just a language. It's a tool that changes your life.
So, we hope today's episode gave you some clear, practical ideas. These 7 habits are not secrets. They're just actions that work. And if you commit to them, they will change everything for you.
Thank you so much for listening to Easy English Talk podcast. We really appreciate you spending your time with us today.
Yes, thank you. And if you enjoyed this episode, we have many other topics that can help you improve your English, your mindset, and your daily life. Explore our podcast and find topics that interest you.
And remember, you are capable of becoming fluent in English. You just need the right habits, the right mindset, and the patience to keep going. We believe in you.
Take care, and we will talk to you in the next episode. Keep practicing, keep improving, and keep celebrating your progress. Goodbye for now.
Goodbye, and good luck on your English journey. See you next time.